Welcome to Augustana Sportscene. It's your weekly look inside Augie Athletics, and I'm your host, Carla Metts. Well, there are only a few more days left in the year, but there are no more games left to be played in 2015. The Augustana men and women's basketball teams pulled out wins against Wayne State on December 19th, and the Augie wrestling team took down Hastings on December 18th. Now, the 2016 portion of the season starts back this weekend for all teams. And besides talking with both head basketball coaches on this episode, we're going to introduce you to a key player for the women's basketball team. But before we do, let's take a look back at highlights from both Wayne State games and the wrestling team's match against Hastings. The men's basketball teams have had two buzzer beater experiences this season, but it was the women's team that gave their own heroic efforts against Wayne State College. The first half was a back and forth battle where no team was able to take a double-digit lead, and the second half was much of the same. But the back and forth affair would end in dramatic fashion. The Vikings led by one, just a minute left to play in the game. Paige Peterson committed a foul, giving the Wildcats an and one, which they used to take a 1-point advantage. With 10 seconds left to play, senior Sophie Kenney drove to the basket, missing a layup, but Peterson was there quickly recovering and sending the ball through the hoop as the clock hit 0. There was a total of 12 ties and 19 lead changes, but the Vikings would come out on top with a final score of 59-58. The men's team beat Wayne State by 25 points back in November, and they nearly doubled the difference the second time around. The Vikings led the Wildcats 18-9 just 4 minutes into the game. A three-pointer by Matthew Brazendale a little later would extend their lead to double digits. But the threes wouldn't stop there. The Vikings shot 5 three-pointers in the first half and outscored Wayne State 32-15. With help from senior Casey Schilling's 20-point performance, the Vikings were able to go into the half with a 69-33 lead. The Vikings welcomed the second half with a 27 run, and the 42-point lead gave Coach Billeter the option to play his whole bench, and all 14 players helped the Vikings take down the Wildcats 107-62. The Augie wrestling team extended their win streak to 4 with a 37-3 win over Hastings on December 18th. The Vikings started out strong by winning their first 9 matches. Sean Hattelstad at 157 got his third pin of the season just 2 minutes and 38 seconds into his match, helping Augie extend their lead 22-0. Logan Henning at 184 also pinned his opponent just 52 seconds, giving him his 5th pin this year. And Clayton Wallstorm at 197 would get 4 takedowns in his match against Jose Rodriguez to secure a win and to give Augie a 37-0 lead. The win gives them a 6-1 record, and they'll return back to action against Concordia Moorhead on January 2nd at 2 p.m. Well, when we return, we're going to catch up with the head coach for the men's basketball team, Coach Tom Billeter. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Augustana Sportscene.
Being part of a great team means you know your role and you work your role to the best of your ability. If you're consistently going to show up and be your best, you're going to be part of that team. You can see the success they have over time. It's not just 1 year flash in the pan. It's consistent success over time, which makes them great. And that's where the work ethic comes in. The ability to come into work, do the same thing repeatedly day after day after day, and putting your best foot forward is going to separate you from the rest.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
You want more from your home improvement store? Don't waste your entire weekend wandering through a maze of aisles and crowds trying to find some newbie big box store employee who's avoiding you and your questions like Bigfoot avoids photographers. Head to Schoenemann's instead, where you'll find answers and everything you need without the hassle, hoopla, and headaches. From questions to complete projects, look to the experts at Schoenemann's, Sioux Falls, and Harrisburg.
Welcome back. The men's basketball team is undefeated in the NSIC, and they have a 9-1 overall record. Now, including their recent win over Wayne State, the men's team has scored 90-plus points in 6 straight games, and they don't plan on stopping that momentum in 2016. Here's Brad Peterson and Coach Billeter now.
All right, thanks a lot, Carla. Tom, let's talk about Christmas and first of all, the mandate that you have with the NCAA and how, because here we are Monday after Christmas recording this as you head into a big weekend of conference play coming up. How did you handle it? When did you go on break? When could you come back? And what is this week like?
I'll probably mess this up. We should have Ann Trappag and talk about this. You have to take 7 consecutive days. We played on the 20th, is that right, against Wayne, and you have to take, I believe, the 21st, and today's the 28th. Yep. So you have the first day we can practice again is on the 28th. So you have to take from the 28th backwards 7 straight days. That's mandatory. I think it's a good rule. I like it as a family. I think your kids get away, your players, get away, get to see their families, and I think Christmas is such an important day to celebrate in a time period with family. It's harder now that it's this Monday and we have USF and Southwest State coming up this weekend, and you're sitting here going, holy cow, we took almost 8 days off. No running, you tell them to get some running in or whatever. I guarantee they ran from the, fridge to the sofa and the kitchen table, and that was it. So, it's one of those things. Now that it's here, your insecurities shine through, and we're anxious to get going again today. We'll practice a couple times today and get them in here the next few days just to get them back into shape without getting them sore. Getting their timing back, we have to be able to move on and start getting ready for the 2 opponents coming up as well. So it's a balancing act, and we've only been doing it now for about 3 years. So we're still trying to figure out the best formula as a staff and as a team of what's the best way of doing things.
Okay, as you go into this week, though, do you feel like this is a team that can handle that time off and come back?
It's a great question, because we're older, yeah. The juniors and the seniors that we have, which we've really not had for a while, I think are much more prepared, and this is their third time of going through this. So I think we'll be a little bit of an advantage there, but the teams we're playing, I know they're deep and they've got older players now too as well, but I think it balances out. It's the same rule for every team in the country for our level. So there's no advantage, disadvantage. I think it's just still something as a staff that we're constantly trying to tweak a little bit and figure out the best formula to get us as most ready as we can by next Saturday. Kind of a unique advantage that we've never had is we're playing Saturday, Sunday this weekend due to the 1st of January. And so that does give us an extra day, which I'm thankful for, to be honest.
You had a chance then to also celebrate Christmas back home with Mom. And so that's one of the things we love to break down, if you will, Coach, is the opportunity to find out what happens in a coach's life in a week like Christmas, and you have a chance to go back home to your mom.
And my wife and I are from the same hometown. We've been dating since we were 16 and 14. Her family's back there too. So for us to go back home, that was always our vacations and stuff and a chance. And I think I've told you this, my wife and I have spent very few Christmases together in 31 years of marriage. A handful. And that's okay, but now with this new rule, we've been able to really take advantage of that. And as I was telling you, all my old friends, we're from a town, I had 100 kids in my graduating class. We're all very close, so it was almost like a mini class reunion when we went back, and we really had a great time. It's funny, my classmates will come up and go, man, your mom could really shoot it, because she'd come out in the driveway with us when we were playing basketball. She was just knock them down. She was lights out. She could really shoot the basketball. She was a good athlete, so it was kind of fun to go back and everybody cares and everybody knows each other. It was a lot of fun.
For the student athlete that plays in basketball, does wrestling that season, can that be the most grueling part or team sports to be a part of, because you only get that time during Christmas off, because otherwise the season is almost 53 weeks long in essence, in terms of your preparation, the off season, and how you really start hitting the ground running once you get to campus.
It's really true. In basketball and wrestling, I don't know how wrestlers do it. Go home. How do they not eat and gain 15? I gained 15 pounds. I don't know how they do it. I admire the heck out of wrestlers. They're incredibly disciplined. Maybe their coaches eat it all for them, and they can gain it. But, it's one of those things a little bit in basketball. And you always want to be playing well into March. Our kids don't get spring break. They rarely get Easter break. We don't get Thanksgiving break. We don't hardly get an Easter break except with this new rule, which I think is fantastic. The 4th of July, as a staff, we're out recruiting. So the summers are your most important time. So you're right, our best holiday probably for our kids is Labor Day, and then they're all moving back, and so onto campus. So your holidays, but it's 4 years, and what an experience. Our kids also, we fundraised and raised money and got to go to Puerto Rico, and our kids traveled and played at Arizona and played some really neat games and experiences as well. So it all comes together. For 4 years, it's a bit of a sacrifice, but for the rest of your life, I think those memories last forever.
Before the break, going back to a game, you're already playing your travel partner for a second time and beating Wayne State at the Sioux Falls Arena 107-62. 62 points in the first half. Was that one of the best first halves you've seen in a while?
Yeah, and we started late. The first 10 minutes, we weren't off. We just weren't making some shots that I thought we would make. And then, we had a game plan going in, and we thought we had to attack inside out. And I thought you kind of could see during the course of the game that just right now they're young kids, Adam Moon, and they've got some young frontline kids that are going to get bigger, better, stronger. But our frontline kids are juniors and seniors, and Dan and Casey, pretty much could just score at will. And especially Casey, if you're going to match up on one, you're going to give something else up on the other, and both can score inside. So we continuously and consistently try to find who's going to be on who's digging off of whom, and then we just are going to take advantage of whatever people do, because we can always put kids out there that can shoot the heck out of the ball. We're hard to guard offensively. I'll admit that. We have some weapons.
Casey, for instance, 21 minutes, but 24 points, 9 of 14 shooting.
I heard
plus,
about that.
Plus
Trust
6
me. He wanted
offensive
his 30.
rebounds.
That's my fault. I hear that from him, Dan, every game. It's my fault when I take him out.
But talk about Casey's very efficient performance in 21 minutes.
Well, and Casey had a rough game a couple weeks ago, and I think it still was in his craw, and hopefully he can move on, because I sure have. And he and a player of his ability and capabilities, they're going to have an off night every once in a while. And when they do, who cares? He still makes it up with defense and rebounds. And, as long as you don't quit playing and maybe the ball's not going through the hoop, who cares? Just keep playing hard and move on. The ball will eventually fall, but it has no reason to quit defending, rebounding, running plays correctly, setting screens, and helping your teammates making the extra pass. So I think our kids have done a really good job of getting frustrated for a moment with a missed shot, but then moving on and doing all the elements of things that you need to do in order to win basketball games.
All right, at home this weekend, Sioux Falls Arena, Saturday, Sunday, 5 o'clock games both days against University of Sioux Falls and Southwest Minnesota State. As you look at the game plan against both the Cougars and the Mustangs.
Yeah, both teams I think are, they love playing us. Let's just admit it. They love to play Augie. We'll get their best shot, and that's fine. USF much improved. Chris doing a great job, he and his staff, and brought in 3 very, very, very good transfers, as we all know. But his kids that are still there were pretty good too. Mac Johnson's playing very well. Stotts is playing well. So I like their team. They're a nice mix. They can score. They're very athletic. And then Southwest State is always the same. They're going to be big and strong and physical inside. They're going to really be physical with our inside guys. They do have guys that can guard us inside. Perimeter will be very physical. And, both teams, like I said, will come in and give us their best shot. And this will be fun. We're really looking forward to the weekend. And I think people come out to the arena, like you said, at 3 and 5, men and women, on Saturday, Sunday. I think they're going to see 2 really, really good teams each night go at it. It should be a lot of fun for NSIC basketball. Get done with it and head over and watch the Vikings Sunday night. It's a perfect weekend. So all in all, it'll be a great weekend for people.
All right, Happy New Year, Coach. Carla?
Thanks, Brad. Well, when we return, we've got an exciting buzzer beater to talk about with Coach Krauth and what January is going to hold for the women's basketball team. We'll be right back.
You want more from your home improvement store? Don't waste your entire weekend wandering through a maze of aisles and crowds trying to find some newbie big box store employee who's avoiding you and your questions like Bigfoot avoids photographers. Head to Schoenemann's instead, where you'll find answers and everything you need without the hassle, hoopla, and headaches. From questions to complete projects, look to the experts at Schoenemann's, Sioux Falls and Harrisburg.
The Volkswagen Passat Limited Edition. Dollar for dollar, it's an amazing value. Let's add up the worth of its standard features, like a rear-view camera, keyless access, heated front seats, and more.
But what really tips the scales is that you get all this value for this surprisingly low price. That's $1,200 in savings. I usually hate being on scales, but this is nice.
At Graham Automotive, West 41st Street, Sioux Falls, or online at grahamvw.com.
Welcome back. Well, the women's basketball team got their first loss of the season to Wayne State, but they made sure not to repeat a loss the second time around. Their recent win over Wayne State gives them a 4-2 record in the NSIC and a 9-2 record overall. Here's Brad Peterson and Coach Krauth to talk about the buzzer beater win and what's next for his team.
All right, thanks a lot, Carla. Dave, we want to talk about the Christmas break and how the NCAA mandates you taking some time off. It's really important, too, to talk about that because it's good, and then it's also the flip side where now you have to get back into it, and you've got a big weekend of games coming up. But talk about this rule. It's been over the last handful of years that it's taken effect. You like it? Don't like it?
Well, initially I was not in favor of it because it's just the NCAA mandating these 7 days are what you take off, and so you really didn't have any scheduling flexibility at all, because I would say on average our kids always get about 5 days over Christmas traditionally, and so we went into it. Well, now the NCAA has tried to tie it into the weekend prior to Christmas and make it a little bit rather than just 7 exact days. And since it's gone into effect, it's grown on me because it's a level playing field in Division II. Everybody's doing the same thing, and you just get a little downtime, from your kids and your team and your routine mid-season, and sometimes that can be a little refreshing.
All right, so for yourself, Christmas, how was it with the family?
Pretty good, pretty good.
How the grandkids?
Yeah, that's kind of what it's all about, and you know, they just scramble through ripping up the packaging, and if this was closed, well, let's move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
They really got the spirit, correct.
Absolutely. Well, before the break, you played your travel partner in Wayne for the second time this year, so you're done with Wayne State College in a game, 59-58, a dramatic win. There were like 12 ties, 18, 19 lead changes in a game that neither school could really gain much traction in that Sioux Falls Arena game.
No, really, you know, from at least a field goal percentage, both teams couldn't shoot. And, you know, you like to attribute that a little bit to the defense. And, you know, I thought we did some things fairly well defensively that we'd sort of schemed for them, where we kept their post players sort of in check inside, and that was probably on the positive. But we were 3 for 20, whatever it was, from three-point range, and that is, you just can't do that and ever expect to win, and we did. So it was a nice Christmas present.
Well, let's break down the final 10 seconds. Sophie takes a baseline shot. Paige is at the free throw line. Nobody puts a body on her, gets the rebound left of the lane and puts it back. It's a tough shot, meaning, I mean, you know that there's only seconds remaining, and she really caps a great night. 19 points, a career high for Paige.
Well, she had a great night. Came in off the bench and kind of, you know, I thought in a lot of ways kind of rescued us a little bit with her game, because we just couldn't get much going offensively with anybody else. But, yeah, I had gone through, take a timeout, the second to last possession. No, don't take a timeout. Take a timeout on the free throw when Wayne State went to take the lead with 10 seconds to go, and then I opted not to. Second guess myself as Sophie came up the court, and but she kind of did what we want to do, attacked with the dribble before maybe they get super organized, and got herself a nice baseline jumper out of the deal. And then, like you said, Paige just kind of moved to the left side. The ball bounced to her, and she put it in. So, you know, things, sometimes it's good, clean living or whatever it is, was in our favor at that point.
Because it's not all the time, and the percentages aren't on a left baseline jumper like that you're more often than not, you're going to find a weak side rebound. And yes. Paige went, though, to the strong side and collected it, and like I said, put it back up.
We remind them quite often where the high percentage of rebounds will go. You know, I mean, on the left side, it's going to typically go, you know, to the right side on the rebound, but she just moved to kind of where the open area was, and, you know, it got in her hand, and credit her. I mean, she just got it off quickly and over a defensive hand, and we were celebrating.
Yeah, and the simple fact, I think you could probably use that also to do a little teaching for your team too about the importance of putting a body on somebody that late in the game to try to eliminate an offensive rebound.
Well, and that's sometimes so much easier said than done, especially in the hectic, you know, last seconds of a game, and you know, as much, it was just a little movement. You know, I didn't know when Sophie got her last shot if we really would have time for an offensive rebound and a second shot, but we did get a decent last shot with her, and then, like I said, it worked out.
All right, so the University of Sioux Falls and Southwest Minnesota State this week, and of course the University of Sioux Falls with a great start to the season. Yeah,
and of course we're very familiar with them. They have a very veteran team, kind of with all the parts, size and quick guards. Taylor Varsho is really one of the premier players in the league there, and she gets her shots up. So, I mean, we're going to have to give her plenty of attention, but it'll take a good game for us to beat them. You know, I voted for them to win the league, and then Winona second. Right now, my vote looks like I might have missed on Winona, but they're tough, and it'll take a good effort and better shooting on our part.
All right, Dave. Happy New Year, and we'll see you this weekend.
Same to you, Brad.
All right, Carla.
Thanks, Brad. When we return, we're going to introduce you to senior guard Sophie Kenney. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Noah, are you about ready to go?
Don't forget your football.
Thanks, Mom.
You promised to never miss a game, and with iMed Mobility, you never have to. From handicap accessible vans to wheelchair lifts and driving aids. iMed makes it easier to be there for all of life's important moments. iMed Mobility, providing life-changing experiences for all our customers.
Need a new water softener?
I'm on it. Dude, don't do it yourself.
No?
No.
Leave it to the experts. Just say, hey, Culligan man.
Save salt, energy, and water with a $39.95 water softener. Inspect and check on any brand.
Welcome back. Senior Sophie Kenney is originally from Fargo, North Dakota, and in her 4 years here, she's been a leader both on and off the court. She started in all 31 games last season and is continuing to be a pivotal player in her senior season. Here's Bill Gross to talk with Sophie Kenney about her final season here at Augustana.
Well, thanks, Carla. And with me now is outstanding Augustana point guard Sophie Kenney. Sophie, great to have you on the show. You've been an Augustana Viking player here for quite a while, an old timer now as a senior. But let's back up to begin with. Fargo Shanley, high school career, had to pick a place to go to college, play basketball. Why'd you choose Augustana?
I just kind of fell in love with the program here, and when I took my official visit and I got to see the campus, I liked that it was a smaller school because I went to a small high school, but Coach Krauth and the coaching staff here definitely sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, well, and it's been great to have you here with the Vikings, and you've had an outstanding career, and this year the Vikings are off to a great start, and you've been a big part of that, Sophie. 11.1 points a game, 3.9 assists, 2.8 rebounds. First, your thoughts on the team this year?
I think we've started off pretty well. We haven't played our best basketball yet, though. So where we're at now is we just have to work out some of the kinks and get our shooting percentage up a little bit from the outside. But the girls have been working hard, so I think we're optimistic right now.
Well, the Vikings play a fast style with a press and run and shoot the three. It's fun to watch. Talk a little bit about our defense. That's really saved us here in the early part of the season.
Well, it's a fun style to play in. We have a lot of talent in the backcourt, and our zone press has given teams a lot of trouble so far. We get a lot of points off of turnovers. But it's a high-tempo, run-and-gun, full-court kind of game for 40 minutes, so it's a fun style to play in, too.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch for our fans, and they love it. Well, Sophie, your role on the team as a point guard, you have to do a lot of different things. Talk a little bit about being a point guard in the Vikings system.
Well, I kind of feel like the quarterback out there. I love being a point guard, and I have so many talented teammates too. So as a kind of traditional pass-first point guard, it's a lot of fun for me because I know I have tons of girls that can knock down the shot around me all the time. But this year, being a senior, I've just tried to supply a lot of leadership and to help the younger girls get going because we are still relatively a young team.
Right. You've been playing basketball since you're a little shaver. What do you like about the game of basketball?
Well, I mean, my favorite part is handling the ball, taking care of the ball, and passing again. But I love the feeling of being out on the court, especially at the arena, which has become such a great home for us, and I think we've really embraced. There's nothing better than playing out there.
Well, the arena has sort of a big-time flavor to it. That's got to be fun as a player.
Yeah, and I love the Elman Center as well, but there's something about game day at the arena that we all have just learned to love, and it feels like a big-time arena. It feels like it's one of the best places to play in the conference for sure.
Okay, well, speaking of the conference, we've already gotten into it a little ways here, and we've come along okay, and we hope to get better. But who do you see as the teams that you think will be the toughest?
Well, Winona State right now, they're still undefeated. They're a really good team. They didn't lose very much last year, so we kind of view them as the top right now. We don't play them for a few weeks, but in the short term, we're definitely looking forward to the matchup with USF, and I think they're looking forward to that too, so that should be a fun one.
Let's talk about that USF game here a minute. I'm sure in the off season you get to play against the gals from USF quite a bit. It's got to be a big, kind of a fun thing to play them and a source of pride if you can win.
Absolutely. We're very competitive with them, and we actually, because we play them so much now, have some friendships across those lines, but they're a good team, they're a great program too, so it's always a tough matchup, and obviously with the rivalry, we want to bring the win back to Augie.
Yeah, it would be great. So that game is coming up here, fans, coming up here on Saturday, so a great game at the arena. Sophie, switching gears a little bit, what's your major, and what are your future plans?
business communications, and my future plans aren't entirely set. I'll probably end up somewhere in the business sector, but I have a lot of great professors here who are kind of helping me figure all that out right now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. First, let's talk about the educational component. The professors you mentioned, who've been great influences for you here at Augustana?
Well, in the comm department, I have John and Heather Bart, and then Dr. Nitz as well. They're great because they also are at the games and they love to talk basketball too when we have advising meetings, which I think is one of the things that you get at Augustana.
Right.
But you know, all my professors, I think I've loved the academic side as much as the athletic side.
Yeah, well, and we've loved having you here. Last question, I guess. You're a senior. Reflect on what it's been like to be a basketball player for the Augustana ladies.
It's been great. I've been coming to Augie camp since I was a freshman in high school, so I kind of got to see the older girls, and I knew I wanted to be like that. And so now to be a senior and look back on it, it's been the best few years of my life for sure, and I love this team and I love this program, so I feel really lucky to still be playing.
Well, there she is, Sophie Kenney. She's impressive. The Vikings are having a great season. Follow the Augie ladies. Sophie, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Carla.
Thanks, Bill. When we return, we're going to give you a full look at what's ahead for Augustana athletics. We'll be right back.
The specialists are so important because they're the ones that can take your team from average to great. The guys that have their specialized roles and understand them and do them really well, those guys are hard to find. And so when you have those guys that are good at what they do and believe in what they're doing, don't care too much about who gets the credit and want to go out and prove something, I think that is probably the most important ingredient in a successful team.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
What's up? Feeding my water softener again.
You should get Culligan water, man. My Culligan system is the world's most efficient water softener. It's 46% more efficient than your old softener. Hey, Culligan man.
Nice.
And here's a look at the upcoming week for your Vikings. Keep up with all the latest information on the Vikings at GoAugie.com. I'm your host, Carla Metts. We'll see you next week.